Welcome back. In this training video, we will learn how to find which purchase orders have materials due in, then we'll process a receipt, and we'll finish by learning how we can view receipt histories. So let's get started. We're going to look at two menu items in the receiving main menu and in the receipt submenu. The first one is Browse PO Lines, which can also be accessed by typing PSS in the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. When the form first opens up, you'll notice it's a typical browse form, with a menu, quick filter, control buttons, and a filter bar. Below it is a grid where each user can customize to their liking using the column chooser. The default filter is set to assist receiving personnel and display the items that are due in. There are additional pre-configured filters to help users quickly navigate and find other information as needed. Now that we know how to use the Browse PO Lines form to identify what's due in, let's process a receipt. The receipts process typically starts when items arrive at the receiving dock, then have been visually inspected for condition, correctness, and quantity, then verified with the packing list. Once the initial receipt inspection is complete, the user can go to the Receipt submenu and locate the Receiving menu icon or type REC in the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. The receiving form is like most entry forms with a quick filter, an attachment button, and some additional control buttons that we'll explore in a moment. Entering a receiving record in FOURA is very easy. To start, select either of the two plus buttons in the header. This will produce the Add Receipts form. At the top of the form is the company that the user is logged into, the receipt date, which defaults to current date. A quick note about receipt date. It should reflect the actual receiving date. This can be essential to helping evaluate supplier performance and product lead times later on. Then there is the receipt type, which defaults to the purchase order, but it can be changed to no purchase order or no PO if needed. Regardless, both require a document number, and we'll address that in a moment as well. At this point, the user has two options to proceed, and it's generally based on the information on hand. If receiving personnel know the supplier name, then selecting the supplier within the drop-down menu will limit the list to documents from that supplier. If the receiving personnel know the purchase order number, then they can skip the supplier name selection and simply select the PO number from the drop-down menu list. If this is a no PO receipt type, a document number is still required. If you don't have a document number for the no PO receipt, you can add a reference according to your company's procedures. Next, we have a checkbox to indicate if the receipt was damaged. If your procedures require additional documentation or pictures to support damaged receipts, there is an attachment button on the receipts form to facilitate this requirement. Below that checkbox is a place to enter or scan tracking numbers and a place to enter a note about the receipt. Now we can select the Add button. When the receipts form appears, it looks like a typical entry form in FOURA. There's a header with standard workflow buttons, and the body of the form will contain line-level details. These columns can be repositioned and customized using the column chooser controls. There's also a Notes tab to document any additional activities surrounding the receipt. By now you've probably noticed that the information that we entered into the Add Receipts form has appeared in the header. There are two ways to initiate a line entry on the receipt record. The first way is to select the Line Number drop-down menu, which displays the lines on the affiliated purchase order. Once selected, we can edit the quantity received and capture serial numbers if required by the Item Master setup. The second way is to select the Add PO Lines button, which brings up the Receive PO Lines form. This form can be filtered to show affiliated items for this PO. However, by default, it filters the information to only those purchase order lines that have quantities due. To document the receipt quantity, simply place a checkbox in the selection field that corresponds with the PO line and update the quantity as needed. There are All and None buttons at the bottom of the form, which are there to assist users who want to select or unselect all of the checkboxes quickly. Once we are satisfied with our entry, all we need to do is select the Receive button to go back to the receipts form. Another column to point out is the Put Away location. This will default to the primary location that was defined in the inventory's stock control form. The Deliver To name is also visible to enhance communication about received materials. Now that we've completed our receipt entry, all we need to do is validate that our entry has met the workflow requirements by pressing the Validation button. And now that it's valid, we can release the record. Of course, if we need to make a change later on, all we need to do is select the Edit button and we'll be able to modify the receiving record, as long as no downstream processes have occurred. Supporting the receiving process is the Browse Receipts form, which can also be accessed by typing BRC into the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. This form provides information from the purchase order header level and provides the ability to drill into the receipt ID to view the receipt entry, or drill into the purchase order to view purchase order details. The Browse Receipt Lines form is another powerful browse form in FOURA which can be accessed by typing BRL into the menu code area of the FOURA Navigator. This form focuses on the purchase order line detail, making it easy to navigate to specific receipts and to view histories. From there, the user can drill into the receipt ID, and the document number as needed. Well, that wraps up this tutorial. Please be sure to check out additional tutorials to learn more about FOURA's powerful features, processes, and tips. Thanks for watching.